this is the Eye of the Swarm, and as you see here, the knight has been defeated. Now we move on to the next Colossus, but before anything else, I'm just gonna say it's been a while since I've done one of these, and maybe I'll release a few more. No promises, though. Anyway, now let's hear what Dorman will say about the next Colossus.
Thy next foe is
in the land of the vast green fields, rows of guiding graves. It is giant indeed, but fearful it is not.
Nice advice, Dorman. Anyway, now let's actually move on to the cutscene before we encounter the Colossus, and it will start now. And I'm just gonna shut up while you experience it. And trust me, it's very beautiful. Now, let's move on and meet the fourth Colossus, Phaedra, the Kirin. And here it is. And I'm just gonna say, he is the most peaceful of the Colossi, even though these creatures don't really have much of a gender, and some people call it a she. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up and you experience this beast. Pretty simple, but it works. Anyway, now let's move on to the design of this creature. It is nice to see another four-legged Colossus. This one kinda resembles a horse, but a lot more skeletal, especially with its rocky bits resembling bones. Pretty creepy, in my opinion. And if you do not believe me about the skeletal approach, have a look at this picture showing its ribs. Also, I kind of wish this creature had somewhat of a tail, even if it was just a little skeletal thing. But I think it looks nice anyway. Maybe I'll give it one in my redesign. Anyway, this also shows the neck thing around, well, his neck. It kind of looks like a collar or something. Pretty cool. Anyway, now let's look at his backside, which will be a hint on how to defeat it. Yeah, and with this you see some very strange architecture. Speaking of which, there are these little beads on his chin, sides, whatever you want to call it. These are another way to possibly get up. And like all the Colossi, his eyes turn red when you attack him. Now let's move on to the size comparison and see how big this Colossi is. Okay, he is around the tallest we've encountered, a whopping 25 meters tall, for 23 meters long, and 10 meters in width. So a pretty good size Colossi, not the biggest we've encountered, but yet not too small. Pretty nice scale. Also, here is the concept art, and I'm just gonna say this, Phaedra looks more hairy than usual. No chest spikes, or the shoulder things, or even the neck braid. Pretty simple. Its head resembles more of a dinosaur, and there's no beads. I do like the hair on the chest, which is the main thing that I got from this, but otherwise, yeah, not much change from here, except for that little temple thing on the ground. I wonder how that... Now, I actually have a question. does he actually resemble a Kirin? Here, right now, is a picture of him next to a Kirin statue, and I just have to ask, do they look similar, like at all? Write it down in the comments below. Now that I come to think of it, they do look somewhat similar. Anyway, now let's go and see how to defeat this mythical creature. But first, some advice from Dorman. Take it away, big guy. Deceive the Colossus reach its back. If you're wondering why I'm underground, well, if you go underneath one of these tomb things, I suppose what they are, and wait until he's got his back turned, climb up his little tail and go up his back, where you have to find one of the weak points in order to defeat him, which, surprisingly enough, isn't a major weak point. However, he will shake you off, as shown here. But it shouldn't be much of a problem. See it now? There's also those shoulder things you can use to have some leverage, but you don't need any problem for that. Anyway, just stab it, and you'll be able to have him lower his neck from the pain, and then stab him in the head. Pretty simple. Though he only has one real attack, which I'll show you right now after you stab him in the head. Which is just not much. Anyway, now let's move on to his name. I've actually done some research on this Colossus's name. It turns out the word Phaedra was actually the name of a Greek princess, which I did not know about. It was quite cool, and it turns out the word itself means bright. Maybe this is why people refer to this thing as female, because it was named after a girl. Huh. I guess this thing is more interesting than I thought. Then again, if it is supposed to be something bright and nice, I mean, it wasn't really doing anything. It harms the theme of the game of doing something horribly wrong for actions that are actually quite selfish. Yeah, I guess it is somewhat appropriate. Now, speaking of tragedy, now let's have a look at Phaedra's body. Also, that slab that you find Phaedra on, there's not much on it. Though, in terms of the body of Phaedra, yeah, there's not much to talk about. Most of it has been fused with the earth. In fact, the one thing I have noticed is that the big spikes on its legs have completely sunk into the earth, so yeah. Now, let's move on to the redesign of Phaedra, and I mostly kept it the same, except add some horns, because, you know, it's supposed to be a Kirin, and now, having a look at those feet, I guess this thing could leap around, if it wasn't so damn huge. And, well, this location, if you watch a certain web series, should be very familiar, and that's where this Colossus will appear, especially during the fall. Though those horns aren't as big shown here, so I'm gonna have another picture that I made, which will show them off much better right now. Also, not only does this show you how long the horns are, it also shows that I actually put a mouth on this Colossus, even though the original one didn't really have one. And yeah, there might be some details that will be somewhat inconsistent, like the placement of the spines, but this is the first time I had a four-legged creature facing forwards, so I did not know how to do that. But it's a pretty good attempt. Anyway, I've also noticed that its head somewhat resembles a Brachiosaurus, which was totally not the intention. I did not intend to do that. But anyway, yeah, that's it. You can also see the beads on its head, whatever those bead things are supposed to do. And yeah, like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next time we do analysis of the Colossus, which I do not know when it will be. But anyway, let's watch this peaceful creature die.